Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Industrial Insights podcast. I have Rob Jensen of MyPlan, and Rob has gone through the PhD program at the school at the University of Arkansas, where I'm going through the master's program right now. So we are two fellow supply chain nerds that are making our way in the world, and I saw Rob's product from his new company. That is a warehouse pick list optimizer. And I'm just at the end of learning about supply chain optimization. And so I was like, man, this is taking optimization to the inside of the box. That'd be great to learn more. So asked Rob to join me, and excited for everybody to learn and to learn more about you, Rob. So I appreciate you being here. Maybe you can give us a little background.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity, Justin. So like you said, my name is Rob Jensen. I graduated from the University of Arkansas PhD program last year. So I have a PhD in supply chain management, and decided to launch MyPlan as a continuation of some research I did as a grad student. Before that, I'm from Nebraska, so I was born and raised there. Got my undergrad in econ, master's in econ data science. I also have experience in operations, so I worked with Walmart out of undergrad. So really what MyPlan is a combination of my operations experience and data science. So what we're doing is we're doing warehouse optimization inside the four walls, like you said. Labor costs are a big issue right now, and our goal is to reduce overhead for our clients.
Nice. And we got a Norwegian mixed up in all this somehow?
Yeah, so my partner Kim Egens, he's out of Norway. He's a very technical individual. So he put together the software. We worked for the last year and a half putting it together. We launched about 2 months ago. Feedback has been wonderful, and we're able to work together remotely, fortunately. I think everyone got used to that with COVID, and It's been a great experience working with Kim the last 2 years.
We went out there on a family trip one time, and we spent like 2 weeks out there and had such a great time. And it was like the culture couldn't have connected better, of like all being on the same page and similar styles. And like it was such a great experience that like it's got a special place in my heart now. So yeah, what a beautiful place to visit. So it's exciting to have you have a connection over there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a trip to Norway. I haven't been yet. We've been remote this entire time. So we're actually getting together in Vietnam here in a couple of months for a couple on-sites. So looking forward to getting connected. Yeah, we've done all of this remotely so far.
That's far out. Yeah. And then what was your PhD project? Like PhDs, you have to come up with a project that like furthers the knowledge base, or like that's something I'm less familiar with. Maybe it could help me understand.
Yeah.
Or was it was some version of this, like an earlier version maybe?
Yeah, so I did an early version for a company. I was using Heuristics. So how do you create a better pick path than currently exists in warehouse management systems? And we used Heuristics, and it worked out pretty well. We were able to see some quality results in picker productivity improvement. And so I started working with Kim to figure out, okay, is there a way to not use heuristics and to be able to scale the solution that I created as a grad student? So we took the same concept and created a platform. So we have to make a digital twin of the warehouse so you can see inside of it. And then we're able to use some simulation and optimization to provide the best route for pickers.
How is heuristics limiting? Like what's inherently limiting about that?
Yeah, so heuristics, if you think about kind of FedEx, UPS, always make right turns, never go in reverse, they're great rules of thumb, but they don't necessarily provide the best solution. And every warehouse is designed a little differently, so it's tougher to do the implementation. It's tougher to scale that implementation. So our goal was to come up with a solution that is easy to implement and that is scalable.
Yeah. So when I think of picking now, so for anyone that's like not too deep into the operations world, picking is when you have products that are on the shelves, possibly in racking in a warehouse for a company that has oftentimes like a consumer product and sells individual items oftentimes. So if you think of like toothpaste, you may have 1 million tubes of toothpaste in your warehouse, but you need to get 1 tube of toothpaste into a box and it needs to go to the customer that bought it. And so managing orders and getting this part of the process optimized is like, that's the challenge. And that's what Rob's like helping improve. How do people do it now? What's like today's like state of the nation for that?
Yeah. So industry standard is a predefined pick path where it's set up in the system and you start with location 1, then go to location 2, 3, 4, etc. And we're saying, you don't have to follow a predetermined path. You should actually skip that and, look at the distances and follow the optimized path versus the predefined path.
And right now, the predefined path is defined from like a warehouse management system, or is just kind of like a human derived?
So both exist. Primarily, it's set up within the warehouse management system. So when you go to do an implementation, part of that implementation process is defining that pick path.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
It's defined by the managers who set it up, who know their facility, whether it be a warehouse or like a grocery store.
Yeah, and so I would imagine what was missing is like this is just a huge additional effort, right? That like people you can't do manually. Like that's just doesn't like make sense. There's too many picks and too many days and too much variation that like no one, if it was your sole job to figure out, like you still wouldn't be able to do it, much less scale it. Yeah, I could totally see why that's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter how well you know your warehouse. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the computers are smarter than us, at least in telling us, some of the optimization, some of the
For
ways
this
that we can
stuff,
do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's Amazon doing? They got to be doing something.
I am not familiar with Amazon's operations. I know they like to keep everything
We
kind of
got to
close
get
to the
in there,
chest.
Rob, with his binoculars and yeah, a camera.
Yeah, I know that they do a lot of part to picker, so they have the pieces come to people doing the packing, and
Yes.
we're primarily focused with the opposite, so picker to part.
Yes. So the opposite, just to clear it up for some people, is bringing the item to the person. And so if you think of like those Kiva systems, right, they would pick up the tote that would have the item, and so you wouldn't go to the toothpaste comes to you, which I could totally see has its own reason why it's helpful, but then comes with its own set of downsides of like, then you're moving product. Maybe you're moving product that doesn't get picked, and maybe there's like inefficiencies there, or maybe that's not always the optimized route. And then recently I'd seen a robotics company that's starting to get in on robotics with a certain, like they're trying to get the mechanism that can make each pick robotically, and that was something that I'd like heard people talking about, but hadn't really seen any like demos of. That was also like an interesting evolution in how do we do better with this particular challenge.
Yeah, and with robotics, I mean, there's a lot of expense for implementing any of those systems. So for a lot of companies, you have to weigh the expenses versus the expected outcome. And a lot of companies are more focused on continuing their operations. They don't want to take those big risks and potentially have them fail because it is a low margin operation, and it's generally considered a cost center. If you think about just how people have evolved over time. I mean, so much of the dexterity in your fingers, it's innate for people to be able to pick up boxes, but it's much harder to teach a robot to do that same thing.
I believe it. Even though they have thumbs.
Yeah, even though they have thumbs. Absolutely.
Well, I feel like you got your value proposition dialed right there, Rob. That is such a great way to think about it. You can get the benefits without this crazy CapEx budget and like all the risk that goes with like trying to trial like robots as a service and like implement this whole new way of doing it in a small way and like trying to figure out how a trial would work, and then how do you then scale that. And then you got to scale your cap spend, and like I could see that be just a lot bigger ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're able to do is actually look at historic data and understand what we should be able to provide for savings for our clients before they do implementation. So we're able to say, we can reduce the travel distance your pickers take by 20%. We know that about half of the time that that pickers spend on the floor is spent traveling, so we're able to reduce overhead by about 10%.
So that's a great way to segue a little bit into you are a VP of operations or of supply chain. This is a pain point for you. There's potential worth exploring, and you got Rob on the other end of the phone. So what do you need? it all comes back to like, give me the data, and you gotta like, what data do you need, or kind of what's it generally like? How do you start to flesh this out a little bit for people?
Yeah, so what we need is access to a facility so we can go and create a digital twin for that facility, and then transactional picking data. So once you scan a box to select it, there should be a log of that data, and we can run through those logs and come up with what the operations are currently doing and compare that to our solution.
Are you making like a CAD drawing, or you take a drawing from their material handling people that make their own CAD when they're laying the racking out, or how's that part?
Yeah, we actually
How do you digitize the warehouse layout?
Yeah, so we created some custom software to be able to do that. We go into the facility and collect some dimensions, collect location IDs, plug that into our software, and then we're able to come up with a 3D digital twin of the facility that we use to map out the pick paths that pickers take.
Nice. I always think of like, we're using Matterport now for like, taking 3D photographs of the inside of buildings, and then it will give you the dimensions within a certain, like, a margin of error. But that's totally not like to scale. Like, you'd think like CAD is like as good as you can get most of the time. So you're saying you need pick data and you make your digital twin, and that's it?
Yeah, and then we provide an API for clients to be able to send us the orders that they are currently working on or will be working on. We send back the optimized pick path for pickers, and they follow our route going forward. So that is the solution in a nutshell.
Yeah. How cool is that? And this can be for any size, like you've seen from 500,000?
Yeah, up to a couple million, absolutely.
Yeah. That's wild. That's so awesome how fast you can get to, like, here, try this and see how it works for you. Yeah.
Yeah, we're absolutely able to provide that pre-assessment to make sure that the solution is going to work for the client, especially if they feel like there's one-offs in their systems. Hey, maybe it might not work. Come try it. Let's see if it works. Let's make sure that there's going to be that value for clients. And from there, all we have to do is integrate our solution, make sure everything is up and running with the APIs, and they'll get optimized pick lists going forward.
Yeah. Who would you say it works best for, and who are people that like are edge cases where like it's not really ideal for? What's like the sweet spot and why?
Yeah, so the sweet spot for us is like third-party logistics companies or warehouses that are fulfilling stores. So the sweet spot is when you are going to multiple locations within a facility, building out pallets. If you have, let's say, 2,500 locations in your facility, and on average you're only going to 20 of them. That's great. We've shown that we can provide a lot of value there. If you're doing full pallet moves where you're only doing one full pallet, primarily with forklifts, you might not see that return because you're only going one place and back. So our sweet spot is really where you're hitting multiple locations within that facility and you've got a large SKU assortment.
I would think a lot of this would end up to then optimizing where you are laying out your product in the first place, right? After you go through this, and then you're like, we can learn more from this. And like maybe if we start moving like higher volume items, or I imagine it leads to like further optimization opportunities. Have you seen much of that? Or like
so that is on our roadmap actually. That's something.
Oh, my bad. Okay, that's where it's going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that we want to build out in the future once we get into a couple more live facilities and have more data that we're working with. So yeah, you should be able to do optimal placement. Are we getting the high volume items towards the start or end point? Yeah, that's something we're planning on working on in the future. We've got sketched out right now.
Nice. And what are challenges with APIs and working with like ERP systems, warehouse management systems, or transportation systems? I'm sure there's a whole bunch of detail there to make them all play nice together and to have this pick ordering integrate smoothly or seamlessly.
I'm sure there are, but fortunately that's why I've got my partner Kim. He's much more on the technical side of things than I am, so I don't really have an answer for that one. We'll have to chat with him in the future. You do have
an answer. Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. That's great. Exciting. Well, yeah, I feel like that's the big stuff, like to learn what's the cost of all this? What's a ballpark? How do people think about that?
Yeah, so our value proposition is based off of savings. So let's say we're able to save a client $50,000 per month. We want to come in at about 20% of that. So we charge based off of transaction. So it's usage based, and we want to come in about 20%. So if we're saving a client 50 grand a month, our cost would be about 10,000.
I love the savings part, right? Because then it's like based on the value that was added, and everybody wins, and like interests are aligned for sure.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Like for companies, our job is to find the right property for them and to help them gain control of it and help them go through the contracts and kind of anything and everything that have to do with the warehouse. But how we get paid is based on the value of the building that they sign. So if they sign a bigger building, you get paid more. If they pay more rent, you get paid more. And so it's not like if you follow the money, it's not like you want your client to pay more. You want them to get the best possible deal because that creates a happy client and an alignment of interests. But this is where it's like there's no conflict there, yeah, or like a potential for conflict.
Yeah, and that's where our solution, works well for large facilities. We obviously get paid based off of what we can save the clients. So for us, it's a better opportunity to be in the larger facilities, but we're not saying that we're going to limit our clients based off of their footprint. We'd like to provide this solution to everyone.
And is your big problem these days getting in front of clients, or what's making this thing blow up?
Yeah, right now it's we're soft launching. It is just Kim and I for the moment, so we're bootstrapping the company. So we're definitely trying to stay within our means and not get too far over our skis in terms of taking on commitments until we can hire the appropriate staff to do the rollouts faster.
You're an entrepreneur. Now you're going to have payroll and managing people and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the next step for us.
That's the dream. I love it. That's great. I know we are a little shorter on time, but I would hope we'd have time to talk about how the University of Arkansas helped you and what your experience was going through the program and how it helped connect to what you're doing today. Can you touch on that some? What your experience was like?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't work for them, right? But I figure it's extended an opportunity and put you in the right ecosystem and connected you with a lot of the right resources. It had to have been, it seems like it'd be super helpful for you and for others. I know it has been for me.
Yeah, I mean, the University of Arkansas, I can't say enough positive things about the program. The PhD program is arguably the best in the world. So having the opportunity to attend, was a fantastic opportunity for me. What better place to learn about supply chain than the university attached to or named after the founder of Walmart? You can't be in a better ecosystem to learn about supply chain, and then the projects that you have access to as a student were top notch. Great to prepare me to take something like this on.
Did you have a favorite class that stands out or favorite experience?
Being able to work in the field actually and be able to do some of this in practice versus in the classroom was I think one of the best opportunities that I had. As a PhD student, I think you get that opportunity a little more than as a master's student. So the first 2 years of the PhD program were focused on classwork, and then the last 2 are focused on your dissertation. And one of my dissertation projects, I got the opportunity to go into the field for a large third-party logistics client and really get some hands-on experience with software development and understanding the needs at a...
Yeah, 3PLs are blowing up, right? If we look at who is filling all these buildings, I forget if it was somewhere around 50% of all the leases that were signed on over 100,000 feet in the greater Southern California area were all third-party logistics, which makes sense that people are outsourcing and as they scale or to cover the rest of the market or to be exposed to logistics companies that have focused purely on all this optimization and on the transportation part, and that's their jam and what they do well. So I feel like that is a growing part of the industry and a great place and pretty cool. You should have a lot of opportunity to meet there's a lot of significant companies doing business, and it's a big pool to be swimming in.
Yeah, it's an ever-growing market, especially as e-commerce takes off. You get the issues of, well, do we want to manage our inventory or do we want to pay someone to manage it for us who has that dedicated experience? So that's where I feel like a lot of folks that are selling products are opting to not be experts at everything, and work with third-party logistics companies.
Yeah, we don't want to do it in-house until we don't want to do it third party again. Yeah, it's funny to see people bounce back and forth.
Yes.
Cool, fantastic. That's awesome. I think that's a great primer, and then people can reach out to you. You can demo this for people, I would imagine. That's a great way for people to learn more if they work for a 3PL or if they're connected to them or other people they think that might benefit.
Yeah, if you're interested in scheduling a demo, you can send me an email, rob@myplan.com, message me on LinkedIn. Yeah, we're happy to schedule demos, show you the product, and then schedule an evaluation on site.
Cool. Have airplane ticket, will travel.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate you spending time with me today. I'll put all your contact information in the show notes, and then look forward to catching up with you later.
All right. I appreciate it, Justin. Thank you so much.
Cool. See you later.
See ya.
Bye-bye.